Okay, I am using the quadrant method that we have all learned together. However, this photograph is so small you could technically still call it a grid drawing, but this is what I'm doing. I am also using a scrap sheet of paper to measure out the distance between different face features in my photograph and check to make sure that my proportions and scaling is correct on anything that I free draw within each quadrant section. So I'm free drawing the details, but I'm also using that piece of paper just to double check behind myself and make sure that I have it placed in the proper locations. I'm using that piece of paper to check how high up this eyebrow needs to be placed in relation to where my eyeball has been drawn. And then I'll kind of free draw it from here a little bit. There's another technique I'm going to show you if you don't want to use a bit of paper. It's coming up in a moment, where I will use the edge of my pencil, the tip of my pencil, to measure the width of things on the actual photograph. So make sure when you drag it down to your picture, your fingers don't move. I noticed that it was ending out right where the edge of the sharpened bit begins, I guess you would say. So from the exposed wooden portion to the graphite tip, that's how I figured that out. So if you don't always want to use paper, you just want to quickly check things with your pencil and measure that way, you totally can. But I'm just going back and forth with both methods of the scrap of paper and my pencil whenever I can. Eyebrows are not twins. Have you heard that before? They are sisters. So I am double checking my placement, and I do see that the left eyebrow is slightly higher than the right. So I'm going to make sure that that remains the same. They are not level. So I'm glad I double checked that. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and start filling in the rest of my eye detail. Make sure that when you place in your iris that it's a nice round circle. They should not be oval, they should not be wonky or out of, they should not be rough around the edges. So just make sure it's a nice smooth circle and that your pupil is really centered within that space. So I failed to mention, I am using the worksheet. You do not have to print one out. You can do the same techniques that I am using by having your laptop open and having that piece of paper to measure against the photograph that is shown on your laptop. So don't feel the need to print this out somewhere. You can do just fine doing the same techniques up against the photograph on your computer screen. Make sure you put the details around the eye in the proper location. Make sure that the curves are correct. So how close or how far away this line work is, because the eyelid folds make or break how accurate your representation is of the photograph you've chosen to do. So proper placement of these eyelid folds, the ones on this photograph, drop down into the lower two quadrants. And you should also make sure that you place in your tear duct and waterline details when you get the chance for more realism. If you did not have your drawing boxed in and you needed to figure out how to put the nose in, the length of the nose is equal to the width of two eyeballs. I thought that was interesting for you to see on this one. So if you do not have a box frame encasing your drawing, that could be helpful for you, but I'm just going to kind of place my nose in using references within my quadrant squares that I've got. I used my scrap paper to help me with the width of the nose, but everything inside is kind of free drawn. So just make sure that your nostrils are large enough and the sides of your nose kind of curl underneath that space. I'm also going to place outlines to represent the bridge of the nose. Everything will be addressed in color and value after this drawing is complete. So right now everything looks really hard and outlined, but it's going to help me figure out where my color and value placement is going to be later. So believe it or not, the eyes and the nose seem to come easiest to me when I'm drawing. It's the darn ears and the width of the face that really trip me up. So you'll see me struggle with this a little bit on both sides, trying to make sure that my ears are placed correctly. I'll admit that I was getting a little impatient towards the end of this video, just wanting to have it complete and knowing that the ear detail was just going to be something I was needing to double, triple, even quadruple check. So I am really making sure that I'm using the paper that I have to measure things out and double check anything that I'm rushing. So the last bit of this video is me trying to get the temple in and the hairline and just making sure the details of the ear are correct. I'm also relying on the crosshair of this quadrant box I've got to make sure that the details inside of my ear are where they're meant to be. Case in point, look at this. So I'm measuring the photograph and I noticed that the side of my face is way too far to the left, so I'm having to readjust everything. I say that as if there's a lot of details to push over. I just need to push that over, and I also need to make sure that my ear is not placed out too far, which I know that the lower part is, which is what I'm checking right now. I just need to make sure it connects well with the top portion of the ear that I've got. So now I feel like I've got it on this one. My drawing has taken 11 minutes. I understand yours might take longer. That said, draw your first one well, and when you are happy with the details and the scale of that drawing, if you would like to use that one to trace your second copy that you'll need, I do not mind. Please do not trace the actual photograph that I have provided. The purpose of this assignment is to get you comfortable drawing portraits and realism with your own practice. So once you are finished drawing the first one, if you would like to use that to trace your second copy that you'll need, go ahead, trace to your heart's content. But please do not trace the photograph. The purpose of this assignment is to get you comfortable drawing portraits on your own. This is why we're learning the methods that I have shown in this video. So make sure that you are being true to the process and that you have integrity. You may do any mediums that you would like to do. So if all you have are pencils and pens at home, go ahead and shade both copies.